June 1940. The summer sky over Britain was deceptively calm, but beneath the surface, tension gripped the nation like a silent storm. France had fallen. The Nazi war machine was closing in, its armies poised to strike across the English Channel. The threat of invasion hung over every village, every town, every countryside, farm. In the quiet corners of rural England, something secret was stirring. Men, ordinary yet determined, gathered under the veil of twilight. They were not soldiers in the conventional sense. No uniforms marked them. No battalions or regiments marched in formation. Instead, they moved like shadows, hidden, silent, prepared. These were the British auxiliary units, a secret guerrilla army trained for one purpose: to resist, sabotage, and survive if Nazi forces landed on British soil. Their training was fierce and covert, their weapons crude but deadly. They were to be the last line of defense, operating behind enemy lines if the worst came to pass. In underground bunkers concealed beneath hedgerows and woodlands, men learned skills beyond typical combat: explosives, stealth, survival. Every lesson was sharpened by the knowledge that discovery meant death. Theirs was a war of shadows, a fight waged without glory but with unyielding resolve. No one outside this secret circle knew of their existence. Official records barely hinted at their missions. Their lives were spent in waiting, ready to become ghosts in their own land. On that summer evening, as dusk folded over the countryside, the quiet preparations began. Men disappeared into the night, carrying the weight of a nation's hope and its darkest fears. The British auxiliary units were ready to become Britain's invisible warriors. Their story was one of courage hidden in silence, of a fight that might never be seen but would be fiercely fought. As the British government faced the grim reality of a potential Nazi invasion in 1940, traditional military forces were stretched thin, recovering from the blitzkrieg on the continent. In response, a new form of defense was conceived, one that operated outside the conventional battlefield. The auxiliary units were formed in secret, drawing men from local communities across Britain. Farmers, miners, factory workers, and gamekeepers volunteered or were recruited quietly. Their backgrounds varied, but they shared a common trait: intimate knowledge of their local terrain. One such recruit was John Harris, a 34-year-old farmer from the English countryside. Strong, resourceful, and accustomed to the rhythms of rural life, Harris was selected for his skills and character. He understood the woods and fields better than anyone, able to move silently and survive in isolation. Training was intense and clandestine. Harris and his comrades were taught sabotage techniques: how to destroy bridges, derail trains, and disrupt enemy supply lines. They learned to use explosives in deadly, precise ways, turning their environment into a weapon. Communication was limited. Units operated in small cells, often isolated for weeks or months. Their survival depended on secrecy and trust. They constructed hidden underground bunkers, often no larger than a garden shed, stocked with weapons and supplies. These served as their bases if the Nazis invaded. Harris's training pushed him beyond anything he had imagined. He learned to move without leaving tracks, to blend into the shadows, and to endure hunger and fear. His instructors warned that capture meant torture or death. The men prepared not for glory, but for silent sacrifice. Despite the danger, camaraderie grew among the recruits. In a world at war, these men found purpose and connection in their shared mission. They were not frontline soldiers. There was something else entirely: Britain's secret guardians. The government kept the auxiliary unit's existence classified for decades. Their stories were told in whispers, if at all. Yet their preparation was real, their readiness unwavering. John Harris and thousands like him trained to become an invisible army, ready to emerge if Britain's fate demanded it. From the moment John Harris joined the auxiliary units, his life changed completely. The comfortable routines of farm work gave way. 2 nights spent crawling through mud, rehearsing ambushes, and learning to wield weapons with deadly precision. His world shrank to hedgerows, tunnels, and hidden paths that would become battlegrounds in a war that might never be fought openly. The training was rigorous, designed to strip away any hesitation. Men were taught to think like guerrilla, swift, silent, and deadly. They studied the art of sabotage, placing explosives under railway tracks, destroying fuel depots, and setting traps that would slow or halt enemy movements. Harris learned to use specialized weapons, including small, concealable explosives and silent pistols. These tools were intended for quick, brutal strikes behind enemy lines, disrupting Nazi advances and buying time for Britain's conventional forces. The underground bunkers built as their bases became sanctuaries and prisons alike, hidden beneath fields, camouflaged by bushes and trees. These cramped spaces were stocked with food, water, ammunition, and medical supplies. Harris and his team rehearsed escaping enemy patrols, surviving without support, and communicating with other units using secret signals. Isolation was part of the experience. Each unit was autonomous, prepared to operate alone if necessary. Harris felt the weight of that responsibility deeply. The knowledge that he might fight in silence, unseen and unremembered, tested his resolve. Despite the grim reality, the transformation was also personal. Harris grew from a farmer into a warrior of shadows, mastering skills that demanded both physical strength and mental discipline. The war reshaped him, teaching endurance, patience, and the power of quiet resistance. The auxiliary units were never deployed on a large scale. The Nazi invasion never came. Yet the men remained vigilant, ready to emerge as a hidden force if Britain's shores were breached. Their story remained hidden for decades, until declassified records revealed the secret army prepared to fight a war within a war. John Harris and his comrades embodied the unyielding spirit of a nation determined to resist, no matter the cost. Their legacy is one of unseen courage, silent sacrifice, and the fierce hope that freedom would survive in the shadows. By late 1940, Britain's situation was dire. The fall of France had left the island nation standing alone against the Axis powers. The threat of a full-scale Nazi invasion operation sea line loomed large. Traditional military defenses were stretched thin, naval forces strained, and the Blitz had begun hammering cities into rubble. Conventional warfare seemed insufficient to repel an enemy that could swiftly overrun key positions. Amid this desperate climate, British strategists conceived an idea that many would find impossible, what if small. Secret units of civilians trained in guerrilla tactics could resist the Nazis from within their occupied land. What if, instead of waiting for defeat, these men could wage a silent, hidden war sabotage, disrupting and striking from shadows? It was a radical departure from open battle, an approach relying on stealth, resilience, and cunning. This idea was the foundation of the auxiliary units, Britain's secret guerrilla army. Their existence was kept classified even from many military personnel. To most, such unconventional warfare seemed improbable. How could a handful of men, without heavy weapons or reinforcements, hope to slow or stop a mechanized, experienced enemy? Yet, the British government committed to this plan. They recruited volunteers from local communities, men with intimate knowledge of their surroundings and a willingness to face unimaginable dangers. The auxiliary units would become a hidden force, trained to survive behind enemy lines and wage sabotage. Even if the main army fell, the men trained relentlessly, mastering explosives, silent weapons, escape techniques, and survival skills. They learned to blend seamlessly into their environments, to operate independently or in small cells. The impossible idea was not only about fighting, it was about enduring, outlasting, and undermining the enemy's control from within. John Harris, a farmer turned guerrilla fighter, embodied this transformation. The idea that he could fight the Nazis not with tanks or planes, but with stealth, sabotage, and secrecy seemed strange at first. Yet, as his training progressed, the power of this hidden resistance became clear. The British auxiliary units prepared for a war no one outside their circle fully understood, a war without front lines, where victory meant survival, and silence was the loudest weapon. The night was thick with fog, the kind that swallowed sound and blurred outlines. John Harris and his small cell slipped quietly through the undergrowth, each step measured and careful. They carried explosives, small arms, and the heavy weight of a mission that could mean life or death. Though the Nazi invasion never materialized, the men trained as if it had. Their drills were brutal simulations of sabotage and survival in hostile territory. They practiced destroying railway lines, burning fuel stores, and disrupting communication networks critical to enemy operations. Harris's cell rehearsed creeping into enemy-controlled areas under cover of darkness, setting timed charges beneath bridges and railways. Every detail was drilled in tree detonation, escape routes until muscle memory replaced thought. The hidden bunkers beneath fields served as sanctuaries during these exercises. Their cramped spaces forced soldiers to endure discomfort, hunger, and isolation, conditions that would become realities in wartime guerrilla warfare. Each mission rehearsal was filled with tension. Soldiers communicated silently, nerves taut, knowing that any mistake could mean capture. The threat of enemy patrols was constant. Training simulated the high drama of an occupied land, where discovery meant death or worse. Though they never faced the real enemy, these exercises forged men who could vanish into the landscape and strike unseen. They became ghosts in their own land already, to fight not for glory, but for survival and resistance. The existence of the auxiliary units remained one of the best-kept secrets of the war. Their impact was never tested in battle, but their preparation became a blueprint for future special forces and resistance movements. For John Harris and his comrades, the war was fought twice, once in open battlefields and once in silence, beneath the surface. Their sacrifice was unseen, but no less real. As World War II progressed, the feared Nazi invasion of Britain never materialized. The Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, and the resilience of the British people thwarted Operation Sea Lion before it began. Yet, the British auxiliary units remained on alert. Their secret preparations a testament to the nation's readiness for total defense. For decades after the war, the existence of these units remained classified, their stories largely untold. Only in recent years have declassified documents and veterans' accounts revealed the true scope of this hidden guerrilla force. Their training, bunkers, and readiness paint a picture of a country prepared not only to fight in open battle, but also to resist occupation. Through covert warfare, the auxiliary units represent an important chapter in wartime history, one that shows how ordinary civilians prepared to become irregular fighters, accepting the grim possibility of fighting and dying in silence. Their readiness to embrace sabotage, stealth, and survival tactics marks a significant shift in military strategy and civil defense. Historically, these units influenced post-war special forces and resistance movements worldwide, proving that unconventional warfare is an essential tool in modern conflict. Their legacy is one of preparedness and sacrifice, an invisible shield ready to protect a nation from within. The men who served in the British auxiliary units carried their secret with them for the rest of their lives. Few spoke openly of their training or the fear they lived with, knowing that their mission might never be acknowledged publicly. This silence was part of their sacrifice. John Harris returned to his farm after the war, carrying memories of underground bunkers, midnight drills, and the constant tension of invisible warfare. His story, like many others, was one of quiet heroism, not marked by medals or public acclaim, but by unwavering dedication to a cause larger than himself. The legacy of the auxiliary units is found in the spirit of resilience they embodied. They represent the countless ordinary people ready to resist tyranny in whatever form it took, willing to fight in shadows to protect their homes and freedom. Their story also reminds us of the cost of secrecy, how many lives are shaped by dangers hidden from view, how courage often goes unseen, and how history sometimes forgets the silent warriors. Today, the preserved bunkers and recently revealed documents serve as a powerful reminder of this hidden army. Museums and historians honor their place in history, ensuring their sacrifice and readiness are not lost to time. Their legacy continues to inspire new generations to understand that defense is not only fought on battlefields, but also in the hearts and quiet actions of those willing to stand when others cannot. This is the history of World War II. Whoever oppresses the innocent is an oppressor. Neither the earth belongs to this oppressor, nor does the sky belong to him. We stand now and forever with the oppressed. This is WWII Files. See you in the next one.